Surprise, surprise, the PFL is struggling. I know, it's a shocker after the huge success that was the Battle of the Giants. Well, turns out the PFL is actually cancelling events, not giving any of their champions any fights. Probably a money-saving move. They know that the shows won't sell any tickets, they won't sell any pay-per-views. It's a last-ditch effort, and Dana White was right once again. Let's listen to him as he slams the PFL down.
Patricio Pitbull said earlier this week that he wants to leave the PFL and he would like to sign with the UFC. Is he someone you'd like to see on the roster?
Who said that?
Patricio Pitbull.
Oh, Pitbull.
Patricio Pitbull, for those who don't know, is the face of PFL Bellator or whatever it is. He is the face of that. He is widely recognized as the greatest Bellator fighter ever, and by far the biggest name outside of Francis Ngannou that the PFL has. And he wants out of the PFL at the age of 37. He's decided, you know what, better than this, where I've built my entire legacy on, I'm just going to go to the UFC and see if I can gamble my career on wins there. That's the PFL.
Pitbull. Listen, the last couple months we've been talking a lot about the PFL, you know. They're canceling a lot of shows. I know that a lot of guys that are supposed to fight aren't fighting. And I mean, you guys know what the f***'s going on. I'm not, you know, when you see that start to happen, you're running out of money. Things aren't looking good. And you're going to have people that want to jump ship. You know, these guys want to fight. You have a...
Dana White is spitting fire right now. I mean, that's obviously... I mean, I can speculate all I want, but that's obviously what's happening. If you're watching this video and you're a PFL fan, first of all, who are you? And what illegal site do you use? Because there's no way you have the channel that shows PFL Bellator. And second of all, he's telling the truth. They're cancelling these events. Whatever his face is coming out and saying they're a real competitor to the UFC. They are co-owning the MMA world. When in reality, they're cancelling events. They got paid by Saudi princes to host the Battle of the Giants. And for the most part, none of the champions are marketable. You don't know who they are. I do because I Googled them before this. But you don't know who they are. Nobody knows. They're obviously bleeding money and they don't want to sign these fighters to have fights. You know why? Because they're like, oh shit, so if we get them to fight, that means we have to pay them. And the show that they're going to be fighting on isn't going to be drawing no money. No pay-per-view sales for most of the shows. Because they're not pay-per-views. And on top of that, the gate is highly unlikely that the gate is doing big numbers. Because they have cancelled a few shows. I'll show you right now. PFL announces cancellation of the Paris show. I'll get into it in a second. But for now...
Very limited time of opportunity when you're a professional athlete. And even less when you're a fighter. So... I'm sure you're going to see a lot of...
If you're someone that's like, oh my god, how can you hate on the PFL? Think of the fighters. It's good to have competition. Well, yes, that's true. But also these fighters that are fighting for the PFL aren't making no real money. The best thing they can do for themselves is honestly build a name of themselves in the PFL and then immediately jump ships to the UFC because that's when they're going to get paid for real big bucks. That way, they don't have to come into the UFC and be on a 10 for 10, 20 for 20 contract. They can come in with a big name, get paid $250,000 to show, $250,000 to win. Given that they're on like a high profile spot, like a feature fight of a pay-per-view or a co-main event, which Pitbull would be. And that's what they should do. Honestly, Pitbull versus Chandler, rematch. Make it happen. I'm down for it.
That, and we'll see how this plays out over the next several months, going into 25.
And just free promotion from MMA Crazy, because they need it from me, because my channel is doing far better than theirs is. Anyway, PFL has announced some of their shows will no longer be going ahead. Like the PFL announces the cancellation of their Paris show. The upcoming Bellator Paris, which was scheduled to go down inside the Adidas Arena, has been cancelled. Okay, so according to the PFL, the Bellator Paris has been... Wait, why is it Bellator? And that's another thing. Why have they separated the two brands? So they've separated the Bellator from the PFL, which makes no sense because no one wants to see that shit. No one wants to see a bunch of belts in the same weight division between different champions. I'm not sure if that's exactly what's happening, but I think that is what they're doing, which is really, I mean, it's really stupid. And fighters have been rescheduled for later dates. Oh my god. They added a small perk for the French fans who were crushed by the news of Bellator France not coming around anymore. All previously purchased tickets, now, you know, they're doing a 2-for-1. If you bought a ticket, You can get a 2-for-1 now, which is kind of smart. I wouldn't be surprised if the tickets were low, and this is just their way of making sure when they return to Paris in December or something for the PFL. Okay, so Bellator just a feeder for the PFL, so they're two separate companies. They're just making sure they can paper some tickets in. Buy one, get two free. Buy one, get one free. That's us PFL. We're real successful. We love our fans. And to make sure we could show you how much we love our fans, buy one, get one free. It's a massive hoax. It's a massive scam, the PFL in general, to be honest. There was no reason given to why it was moved. Due to circumstances beyond our control. Circumstances like no one buying tickets, I would presume. The event was forced to be rolled out. Oh no. What will I do on my free... I think this date's already gone by, but what will I do on my free weekend? No PFL? No Bellator? Even worse. We invite you to come closer to our point of scale for the reimbursement procedures to be followed. A bunch of boring stuff. Patchy Mix was meant to fight against Leandro Higo. Who cares? I don't care about his... whoever the fuck that is. In all honesty. Now let's move on. So this was their last pay-per-view they did. Just to illustrate how much of a massive success the PFL is and how much money that they're making. Let's look at this. The PFL's big Battle of the Giants. Big. Pay-per-view went down 2 weeks. This was a while... This is from a while back, keep in mind. Anyway, according to the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer, the PFL pay-per-view did just over 10,000 buys on ESPN+. Keep in mind, they paid Francis Ngannou $10 million. They threw $2 billion in Henry Ferrer's face. And the entire card seemed so stacked, you would imagine a few more millions were distributed up and down that card. AJ McKee was fighting. Cyborg was fighting. You know, so big stars for the PFL. Big. It was $50 a pop. So good on them. So what's that? 50 times 10,000. $50,000. Ooh. Wait, no. That's not how math works. Okay, so that times 10 would be $5 million. Not bad, but again, the fact that it wouldn't even cover half, or barely cover half of Francis Ngannou's purse, says a lot. That means they made just 500,000. Is my math off? Is it 500,000? So it's really shit. Yeah, so it's bad. It's worse than even I thought. $10 million fight between Francis Ngannou and Henry Ferrer. So that's the kind of success they're having. Paying $10 million for fights that generate 500,000 in America, which is just universally considered the biggest country in terms of where the fights take place. And the fact that Bellator PFL is based from that part of the world kind of just shows how that is. It's worth it in front of the stream. They don't have the numbers for the days in, which way was $20. And maybe did some numbers internationally, but I'm highly doubtful. Maybe in Cameroon. I don't know. Anywho. That's a funny picture. Let's dismiss that. This is what the champions of PFLator have to say. Aging like warm cheese over here, waiting for PFL MMA to give me a call. But don't get it twisted. We're still ready to defend the strap against anybody, young or old. And he says, I mean, he does look like he's aging like cheese, to be fair. I still stand by what I said. When Scott Coker was in charge, the ball was constantly rolling. Fights were booked and transparent with everything. Changed my life. Now a year later, it's a complete flip-flop. I don't take back what I said then, but I wouldn't say it again today. And this is coming from Corey Anderson, the most anti-UFC guy you've ever seen in your life. I mean, the fact that he wasn't allowed to train with John Jones, ever since then, he's just been on a tirade of just hatred towards the UFC. They don't treat us right. Don't get knocked by Blachowicz, and you get a title shot, you idiot. Patchy Mix, another one of the champions. I've been training my ass off for the last half of the year for nothing. This is frustrating in the prime of my career, and I've had my fight in November cancelled. So the PFL is literally ruining careers, cutting people's primes short technically by making them not fight. If you're someone that's pro fighters and not pro the fan, what are you really cheering for? The fighters are struggling in the PFL. They're not even getting fights given. So not only the fans don't get to watch the fights, the fighters don't get to make any money off of this shit. And this is Patricio Pitbull, the biggest star outside of Francis Ngannou the PFL has. I haven't fought since February. I wanted to fight 3 times this year, but I was told I'd have to wait till December. While in the UFC, Pereira gets to fight 3 times a year. Could have fought 4 times if he wanted to. Chose not to. Smart move on his behalf though. And found out online my opponent would fight someone else. Then they had the replacement. I bring people over, spend more money with the camp, and there's no fight. The greatest fighter to ever fight for Bellator. And he's not been given fights as a champion, as a defending champion. If it was the UFC, like, oh my god, you want to fight 3 times this year, Ilya Topuria? We got matchups, okay? Lopez, Volk, Evliev, Yair. Who do you want? Holloway. Who do you want? Just give us names and we'll make something happen. In the PFL, they're like, oh god, do you have to pay him again? Can you wait a year? While we try to get our funds back up after this Francis Ngannou and Ferreira bomb fiasco. I'm very worried about the future of Bellator. Don't be, it's gonna die soon. And MMA General. Okay. I feel very sorry for all the fighters who didn't even get to fight this year or were cut because they just don't make shows or think they're expensive. And all the fighters who were forced to take pay cuts. That's the PFL. In UFC, at least your contract goes up after it ends. In the PFL, they're like, oh my god, can you take off like 30,000 from your paycheck so we can, you know, maybe potentially fly over everyone that's meant to fight? That's probably what's going on with some of these events. They're not making no money from this. Keep in mind, no pay-per-view sale. A lot of their events aren't pay-per-view based. A lot of their champions defend their titles without pay-per-view points. A lot of their champions defend their title in an arena full of half buy one get one free tickets. So what kind of revenue are they generating to pay their fighters? Like, what kind of negotiation power do you have? Like, imagine going into the PFL offices and being like, you know what, I think I'm worth, instead of paying me 100k or 80k, I think I'm worth 120, 140k. And then just saying, oh well, I mean, good for you, but we just don't have a kind of money. Like, you can negotiate all you want. We just look at our bank, look at our bank details. Look at this. Do you think we have any money? Is what's going on there. They're showing in the bank accounts. Again, I'm making this stuff up, but it's probably what's happening. And what's happening here? Offering tens of millions of dollars to social media personalities and semi-retired fighters. I think he's talking about the fact that they got a bunch of retired has-been, Dan Hardy, Randy Couture, I think might have been there as well, from what I remember. They're paying them to come and commentate and analyze these fights. Oh my god, this Henry Ferrer guy is real dangerous. I mean, he's got a mean left hook. That's just, they're paying them money to just say the most basic shit. He's really tall. Is what they're coming out and saying. Francis Ngannou, I think he hits hard. And that's the analysis they're getting. No one cares. It's not like they're putting out these amazing analysis as they're doing these real good promotions with these old retired fighters where they're getting on a round table discussing the fight. Maybe they do a face-off with Helen Ferreira and Francis Ngannou face to face, like in a dark room, you know? It's none of that. It's just you come in and you don't even hear about Randy Couture being there until the day of, and it's like, oh well, he's talking. Oh, by the way, who's that voice? Whose voice is that? It kind of sounds familiar. Oh, that's Randy Couture? Okay, cool. Why is this shit commentating? Is what you're thinking when you're watching this. How can you become #1 in the world if you don't stage events and don't want to pay fighters? You don't. And they never will. This is wrong. We need answers. We need the fighters and fans to be respected. This is not I don't know why I'm doing that. It's not a game or just some business. There are people's lives we are talking about. A serious promotion would give fighters a chance to fight at least 3 times a year if they're healthy. A serious promotion making money would. And some other lower ranked fighters. This is frustrating. We have no clue what we might be fighting after 2 fight cancellations in a row. Time is of the essence in this game. We can't waste your primes on the sidelines. I'm working hard to take that title, spending money, sweat and blood. What's going on? Hoffion starts. What's going on? Even though my rematch against Pat, she deserves to be active. I'm ready to defend my Bellator title. On the same card as Corey's, what she said. The executives haven't responded. And apparently there was a time. Apparently the owner of PFL has said that he isn't a fan of MMA, and then when asked this question, he went on to talk about boxing. So these are the kind of real high IQ individuals running this dead promotion. Anyway, I just wanted to give Dana White his flowers. Just wanted to showcase that the PFL is dead. if you're someone that's rooting for the PFL to succeed, good on you. You can do it by yourself, in all honesty, because I've given up hope on the PFL. It's a bunch of bullshit. No one really cares, if I'm being honest with you. It's just like a freak show, sideshow circus. And I don't know, I know everyone's going to hate this video and maybe dislike it, if anyone ends up watching it, that is. But am I wrong in saying what I'm saying? Look at the way they're treating the champions. Like, you can't convince me the best fight at PFL when they're not even allowed to fight. Anyway, subscribe, like the video. 148 subscribers. Get me to 150. Get me to 200, actually. Get me to 150 first. Alright? Do that. See ya.